Greetings from my tub. I'm in here getting 5% cash back when I pay in 4 with PayPal. No fees, no interest. Make the most of your money this holiday with PayPal. Save the offer in the app.
Ends 12/31. See paypal.com/promo terms. Points can be redeemed for cash and more. Pay in 4 subject to terms and approval. PayPal Inc. NMLS 910457.
Hey, welcome into Walgreens.
Hi there.
Hey.
All right, hon, I'll grab the gift wrap, cards, and, those stuffed animals the girls want.
Great. And I'll grab the string lights and some... How about I grab some cough drops?
This is not just a quick trip to Walgreens.
I'm fine, honey.
Well, just in case. You know what they say. 'Tis the season.
This is help staying healthy through the holidays. Walgreens.
Buckeye Talk is about to begin. Hey, 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 come on in.
Welcome back to Buckeye Talk. I'm Stephen Means, and that's Stefan Krajisnik, and this is your Leave No Doubt Monday pod. Every week we try to answer the question of, did Ohio State leave no doubt in its game? And sometimes that's as simple as, like, did you win the football game? And sometimes it's, focused on a specific subject. And sometimes we take big picture conversations. Today is focused on a specific subject. It's just two subjects. One of the subjects was already planned to be part of today's festivities. And then at like 11:30 on Sunday, right before noon, Ohio State decided to kick off the Julian, Sayin, Jeremiah Smith Heisman Trophy campaign, which I know for those of you who are on social media, the Lunatic Fringe has been at it for about a month now, saying Ohio State needs to promote its players better. And November 2nd got here and they started promoting their players better. And I guess I can ask you that. We'll get into that in the second half of the pod. But let's start with the reason why they were able to, promote their players better. And it's because of what the players did on the football field on Saturday. We are going to go back and look at all 29 plays of the first half and then the first drive of the second half. And the only reason we're doing the plays of the second half to begin with is because there's literally 4 times Ohio State has the ball in the first half, and one of them, C.J. Donaldson, fumbled the ball in the first play. So it's not like really a drive, which is kind of unfortunate because I do feel like that would have been a good drive to like learn about Ohio State in a 2-minute drill in a situation where the game is close, right? Because they haven't had a lot of those moments, but unfortunately that moment was robbed of us because, again, C.J. Donaldson fumbled on the first play. Before we get into things, Stefan, we're going to have another moment here that I'll bring up later when we're done. Every so often I have these moments where I'm like, man, I wish Gillis was on this pod. And it's not because I want to tell him he's right about anything. In fact, I want to point out just how wrong he was and stick it to him a little bit. And there's no, we have recruiting pods, and there's sometimes where I'm like, I wish Stefan was here so he could hear this right now because I think he needs to hear this too. And they don't do pods without me, so they don't get to have moments where they're like, I wish Steven was here so I could stick it to him in this moment. If they did, then, they still wouldn't have those moments. 30 actual snaps in the first half, Stefan, because one of them obviously doesn't count in the box score because it's a penalty, so it gets wiped away, right? And so that one doesn't count. But we're gonna talk about that one too because it's important within what they were trying to do in those moments, and it also allows me to tell you this stat before I let you do some talking because I know I've been talking for 3 straight minutes here. 30 snaps, 16 were on first down. So even if you take away every drive starts on first down, 5, that's 12 other plays where they snapped the ball and it was first down. The level of efficiency and explosiveness, and I know we talked a little bit about that on the post-game pod, but it's just so apparent after you rewatch the game and get a chance to dive into some things. 16 plays on first down. Plays that were second and short, which is what I classified as anything that's 5 yards or less, 3 plays. Plays that were second and long, so 5 yards or more, 6 plays. So 6 to 10 yards, 6 or plus yards, 6 plays. Third and short, 5 plays. Guess how many that leaves left for third and long?
I've lost track, but not many.
They didn't run a single play where it was 3rd and 6 or more. So you're talking like a level of efficiency, a level of explosiveness, but then like just keeping things on schedule. I don't think they had some negative plays, but I don't think there was ever a situation where like they were off schedule that felt detrimental.
So I think a point that I'm going to make pretty often as we go through, the offensive success in the first half is this was this was Brian Hartline's best work this season.
Yes.
I thought in terms of just flow, and you just saw rhythm with this offense. And even as they were changing things and different formations and different substitution packages and everything that they were doing, there was a flow to it. And it kept Penn State kind of on its heels, not knowing what was going to happen. There's 2 or 3 sequences here that I circled where it's Brian Hartline sets up what you think is the obvious play call here and does the opposite, right? Like whether it be formation or situation, whatever it is. And because of that, I think it leaves Ohio State ahead of the sticks. I'll bring up one example, and I know we're going to run through a lot of it here, but there's let me see. Sometimes you take notes and then you look at them and you're like, what did I write down?
This is why I started typing my notes, because my handwriting is just horrid.
I missed it because it was at the top. So second play of the game. Well, first play, they got the 19-yard pass to Carnell. Second play of the game, There's a tackle for loss against Bo Jackson. Sets up 2nd and 15. You're thinking all right, Julian Sayin's going to have to pass his way out of this. They bring in 3 wide receivers. You're like, all right, they're going to pass their way out of this. And then Bo Jackson runs it for 10 yards. Like that, Penn State's think like that 2nd and 15, you're behind the sticks. All right, Julian Sayin and your receiver are going to catch you up. You bring in Ennis, you got 3 receivers. And then it's Bo Jackson going at the middle and setting up a 3rd and 5 for you after he just had a tackle for loss. Everything would point to this is going to be a pass, and you run it. And it almost felt like on the 2nd and 3rd play, Brian Hartline established this is how this is going to go. I'm going to change some things up. I'm going to do different packages, do different formations, and you're still not going to know what's coming, even if the formation and the down and situation tells you one thing is coming. You're going to see the opposite, or you have to at least be prepared for the opposite of what you're expecting.
1st and 10 play action pass to Carnell Tate. So out the gate, they're putting Jim Knowles on his heels. And then they go up tempo, which I think is insane because they didn't run something simple just to get a completion, just to get the ball. It wasn't a drive starter, which is, the funny thing is we're going to close this out with something where they literally ran a drive starter and it came back to bite them in the butt, right? But they ran their drive starter is a play action pass to Carnell Tate in the middle of the field, 20 yards down the field. That's how they start the drive off and immediately go into no huddle mode. Immediately go into tempo mode, which when you're going against a coordinator who can get overly aggressive, and also you worked with him for 3 years, so you do have some level of an idea of what you're expecting to see. That's exactly how I felt like they threw a million different things at Knowles. And one of my first notes outside of this is the reason why is I think the first half was Brian Hartline essentially asking Jim Knowles if he's going to have a chance to throw it down the field today. Jim Knowles, you're going to answer this question right now. But also we're going tempo because we know what your play calls are. We know the complexities of your defense. So we know tempo is probably not how you want to start things here, especially if you're that aggressive and that complicated defensively. And we know a little bit about you and you know a little bit about us. So we're not going to give you a lot of time to think here. You got to go. Side note, Jim Knowles is a wild boy for man blitzing as much as he did. That's insane. I get it. I get it. Because listen, do you want to get dog walk down the field or would you rather the drive just get over with? I get it. But they immediately go into a run, which it's tempo. So I don't have a problem with you getting the team on its heels and you don't really well know what you're going to run. I don't think it was a bad play call. I just think that Penn State, I think this is one of the few plays that we're going to talk about where Penn State just won the chess match on this play. And they got the tangible result of winning the test match is that Jim Knowles just sent the blitz who wasn't ID'd and picked up because you're going tempo, and he gets Bo Jackson 4 yards behind the line of scrimmage. And as you said, this is the run game, by the way. That 9-yard run, this is it. This is it. That's what we're talking about when we're saying explosives. And that's not obviously 9 yards is not explosives, but you ran the ball on 2nd and 14 because you were trying to get the 3rd and manageable. But because Bo Jackson is Bo Jackson, he turns it into a 9-yard run, and so it's 3rd and 5 all of a sudden, which is what they're asking for the running backs when they say the first 4 is on us, everything else you get is after that. Okay, they got 4 to get you to 3rd and 10. Hey, Bo, can you get another 5? And he got another 5. There were some other opportunities where he got that. I don't think he was perfect at, we got you 4, can you get us 1+? Whatever. But on this play, he was. And so now all of a sudden, they can just they go empty. And this is, I think, the play where they moved everybody to one side. They had the funky formation And it was simply just because it was going to be the option route of like, hey, JJ, if the safety stays high, you're going to run in. If the safety comes down, you're going to run out and want to bang a 9 route, right? Essentially is what that was. And safety stayed high. JJ came in. Julian made the throw. First down. And it restarts all over again. But I felt like
are you talking
all
about the
three of
slant
them-
to JJ?
Yeah.
The second down Bo Jackson run set up the back shoulder to JJ where they went 5 wide.
No, yeah, you're right. You're right. 5 wide. He's on the inside. The running back's on the outside. That's the back shoulder one. Yeah, which is, again, I'm getting ahead of myself because that option route is just, it's nothing special, but it's just like, yeah, do more of that. That's how you answer the JJ's getting double covered question. But I guess we'll come back to that. You're right. This is the back shoulder. And then it's first down. They throw it again, which love that. Only gets 3 yards, but it's like, all right, Julian went through his reads, Bennett Christian, and you keep the drive alive. And then it's, I think after that is the empty pass to Jeremiah Smith for 10 yards. Yes, you're right. I just got ahead of myself. Then they do that. So everything I said earlier, just apply it here and set up to the back shoulder fade. Because you get another 10. What do you get out of that? Another 10 yards out of that. First down again. Bo Jackson gets you 8 yards. Fun formation.
Yes. I had to look up what it was called. I honestly,
What is it?
I think diamond formation is what it was called. I thought like maybe, and I found it by looking up like variations of the T formation.
Okay.
Because that's kind of what it felt like. It felt like some variation of T formation. And according to some website, it took me to diamond formation. And then I like and it makes sense. It's kind of like shaped like a diamond, I guess.
I was going to call it something stupid. I was going to call it the inverted wishbone formation. And that's just stupid because it's not really anything like a wishbone. It's just, I was like, oh, that's the exact thing. I think that's when you and I started having the conversation, the moment they pulled out this formation. And then we had it on the back end where you were like, actually, Steven, I don't hate this. And I was like, that's a good point. He went into detail. It's just, it was a long conversation, and it was Saturday, and it's Sunday night when we're doing this. But again, we're 8 plays in, and I still feel like everything's on a string. Everything's building off of itself. I didn't feel like they're doing this and then doing that and then doing this, but it felt like there was continuity and rhythm and an art to how they were doing this. And then they bring CJ Donaldson in and they run the ball for 4 yards out of the I formation, which is, again, I think that's just okay, let's get the first down. We don't need to turn this 2nd and 2 into a 3rd and 4 if we don't need to, just for the sake of throwing the shot. So it keeps the drive alive, which this is my other early note that I want to bring up before we get into the rest of this drive, where I feel like, well, I guess I'll say this. I love fake toss passes. Pitches. I love when the play action is faking the toss out of shotgun. I don't know why. it just looks very appeasing to me.
There's like a flow to it.
Yeah.
This was another sequence that I had circled right before the play action.
Is I formation?
Yeah, because Brian Harley went 3 plays in a row where he went 3 tight ends at the bottom of the screen with Bo Jackson set up a screen pass, and then he goes option. The play ends up with an option to JJ. And then he gives us this diamond formation, and then he goes I formation.
Yeah, that was a stick it to Steven. But also, I loved it because it didn't feel like they were just subbing, right? That package, that grouping, that personnel package operated in 3 very different ways. And that's when you hear conversations that we have in the fall camp about with Keenan Bailey and how many different ways you can use your tight ends, your running backs, how many different things they can do, how your wide receivers, how many different things you can do. This is why it's not as simple as who's going to play the most. There's how many different ways can we dress up 12, 11, 13, 14? We've seen 22 this year. How many different ways can you dress up all these different personnel packages? Because then when you want to play fast, you don't have to sub to go to a certain grouping or formation. Because, there's 2 tight ends, a running back, and 2 wide receivers out there. Okay, we can run 7 different formations. We can figure it out. We got stuck with JJ out there, but Carnell and Brandon Ennis are on the sideline, and we got 3 tight ends in there. Okay, go. We can figure that out, right? Everybody can do everything, and that's where the depth starts to matter here. The next sport after the fake toss is empty motion into something weird, and it was a bunch of it was a lot. They emptied, and then they came back in, and they were lined up. It was 4 different people in the backfield, and I'm thinking to myself, is this even legal? And then they go, no, we're going to motion this other running back out here. It was a lot. You would almost expect Steve Sarkisian to have something like this where you do 12 different things before you snap the ball and then it's just inside zone.
Yeah, and Luke Montgomery whiffs on Like
Montgomery whiffs.
just whiffs. Yeah.
They sat in an offense meeting for 2 hours and probably spent 45 minutes on this. And Luke Montgomery whiffed on the block. And so you spent 45 minutes on nothing, essentially. But this is where I'll bring up my CJ Donaldson before we close out the drive. He's literally just a batting ram when he runs. Like he's like a kamikaze pilot. Seriously, how many times have we watched him and just thought to ourselves, why are you not reading this right? What if he is reading it right? What if his actual destination is always through the defensive line, even if it doesn't make any sense whatsoever? Because he's their short yardage situational back. So if his job in all of this is it's 2nd and 4, just get the 4 yards, and you got to run through a you-know-what face to do it. That's almost his role, is to run through a you-know-what face to do it, which is why later in the drive, when we talk about Bo Jackson at the 1-yard line, unable to get into the end zone, and then CJ Donaldson becomes the touchdown merchant, this is why. And I'm not excusing, this is why they really should only use him in situationals. And I think that's what, actually, I know for a fact, this is what they want his job to be. It's functional.
You think this is what they always wanted his job to be, though? Because he did lose, what was it, 50 pounds when he got here?
Yeah. Yes. No. Maybe. Yes. Is that a fair,
Yeah. No, absolutely. If I had room for my notes, I'd jot that one down as well.
Okay, because I think, yes, because you and I said this is what he was going to be in January, and then spring practice started, and he lost 20 pounds, and we were like, oh, okay. All right, just give him the ball 12 times a game. Cool, that's working. And then fall camp started, and it was like, oh, he played wide receiver in high school? Oh, okay, cool. All right, cool. They're just going to give him the ball then. And then Texas happened. And I know why Texas happened, which is why we're having a Donaldson conversation right now instead of later in the pod when he's doing some of this other stuff. Texas happened because it was number 1 versus number 3. And as much as you want to play talented freshmen that you know are probably your long-term solution, you can't have but so many freshmen out there. It's another example of this being there's only one Jeremiah Smith. Where as a true freshman, this is a guy who needs to have this much of an impact in a game of this magnitude. And so Bo didn't play. He's played in every game since. But yes, but the point is, we thought he was going to be the short yardage back. Then he lost a bunch of weight and we said, okay, this might be a dynamic here. And then he lost a little bit more weight and we were like, okay, this is really a dynamic here. And then he had 17 carries against Texas and we thought now he's just going to be the dude in the room. And then all of a sudden it's no, Isaiah West and Bo Jackson are very, very good. And also, I think we've been a little too harsh on James Peoples. But this is his role. We have a situation here. Fix it. And that's what he does. And then he comes back off the field.
Yeah. I thought Isaiah West actually was okay in this game. Looking back, I'm kind of surprised that we didn't see a bit more of him. But I think the way the game went, especially in the first half, was you were in situations where having CJ Donaldson, the situations called for Bo Jackson or CJ Donaldson. Yeah. And that's kind of just a result of it. So yeah, I think we're seeing it's not even so much a hierarchy. And I think you and I talked about this after the Wisconsin game of just it's not necessarily a hierarchy because I still think that number 1 is Bo Jackson, number 2 is Isaiah West, but I think it's number 1 is Bo Jackson, number 2 is you're going to see situational downs more often. That's where CJ Donaldson comes in. And then Isaiah West is kind of the second to Bo Jackson. It's almost Bo Jackson and Isaiah West and James Peoples are this category, and then CJ Donaldson's kind of his own category. And on any given game, depending on the flow and the situations, he can be number 2, number 3, whatever it is in that hierarchy. CJ's kind of like a wild card, I guess, in that mix.
Okay, so you do that. It's a Sayin RPO where if the safety stays high, you give it. If the safety comes down, you throw it. The safety came down, he threw it. JJ touchdown for 14 yards. Because that's just that's it. That yeah.
So yeah, I mean that play was Ohio State's hitting that play 100 times out of 100 if it's presented to them. Right. Walk me through your interpretation of what was said before Ohio State got the ball on its second drive. Is centered around Jenny Taft saying that on the sideline, Penn State's coaches were kind of getting after the players or whatever the discussion was about doubling JJ. And I'm there being you waited until after the first drive of the Ohio State game to talk about doubling JJ?
Yeah, from the Penn State perspective, I'm going to bring a video game reference up. So on the college football video game, if you're playing defense, if you pressed R3 before you pick your play, you can go scroll down and you can decide what you're going to favor as a defense and read options. So you can go focus on the quarterback, balance, focus on the give, focus on the quarterback, balance, focus on the pitch, RPO, focus on the run, balance, focus on the pass. Why did Penn State think that they could be the first team this season who could focus on the run? Because that's what that says to me. Is there's a zero. You're in the red zone. There was zero reason for that safety to come down on that play. Like zero. And so I think that's what's my interpretation, that safety was supposed to stay high and he came down and it presented a world where Jeremiah Smith's one-on-one and this quarterback knows what to make what decision to make there because he knows what his read key is. It was stupid. So there's no way that was the game plan. There's a 0% chance the game plan was, hey, we're going to bring our safety down in the red zone and leave JJ or Carnell one-on-one. I hope not. So yeah, he was getting cursed out because he probably did it wrong. Maybe.
Yeah, it was quite the sequence there, listening to Jenny say that and be like, all right, we're 7 minutes into the first quarter. We've established we can't leave Jeremiah Smith one-on-one. All right, check. Penn State's off and running.
Breaking news. You should not leave Steph Curry open and shoot 3-pointers. We spent 25 minutes on that. I don't know if we're going to spend 25 minutes on every single one of these drives. So we got a lot to get through. 11 plays, 5 passes, 5 runs, and one that could have been either or. And it ends up being a pass because Julian pulled it and threw it. Right? Isn't it not what a perfect, like, it's like balance personified, but it's not balance from a, let me tell you why I did a chef's kiss. Not because they ran 5 passes and 5 actual runs, but because what have I been yelling since before the Tennessee game? If you call a play where the option is to pull it or to run or to throw it more than you give it. So the RPO ends up being the thing that like shifts it towards the pass because it's that's what I'm looking for. This team runs a lot of RPOs when it feels like it can trust his quarterback to make the right decision out there. The right decision more often than not is going to be pull it and throw. Because even if that safety doesn't come down, and JJ showed it plenty of times in this game, I still might trust JJ over the run blocking right now because it's so up and down. But like, this is what we're talking. This is like part line at its best. And this is every single drive of the first half. So drive number 2, 1st and 10, run for Isaiah West for 1 yard. Second, stop me if you feel like you have things to say because I'll just run through it. 2nd and 9. You throw it to get back on schedule, and that's the play that technically doesn't count because it's a DPI on Brandon Ennis, but also roughing the passer. So they end up just getting a free first down out of that, which that's an egregious hold by that defensive back, by the way. So 1st and 10 again. Sayin play action pass to Brandon Ennis, 29 yards. And I like the jokes that they were telling. Joe Klatt and Gus Johnson were great on Saturday, I felt like. They were telling the Tom Brady joke of like, you don't be afraid to rip the seam.
Yeah, from the commercial. Yeah.
Yeah.
Which great joke on their part too. Also, like what they weren't doing intentionally. It's been we had the Illinois game, had the Texas game, but hasn't been a ton of big noon for Ohio State this year.
Yeah.
Like rewatching this game, I felt like I was spending more time hitting the fast forward button to get through the commercials than I was like watching the game. Like these commercial breaks, man, like it touchdown, commercial, kickoff, touchback, commercial. Like, come on, what are we doing? I like this sequence too because it was like again, you're throwing wrinkles, you're throwing new things and different things at Penn State and Jim Knowles. It's like, all right, first drive we just gave you 700 formations and it was 11 plays or whatever it was. Okay, we're gonna come out and we're just gonna spam Brandon Ennis now. Like Jenny Taft just talked about how you guys are terrified of Jeremiah Smith. Oh, we're just going to spam Brandon Ennis. Like, we just gave you 2 tight ends and 3 tight ends, and now we're going to come out and our 3rd wide receiver is going to start catching passes. And that's, like, watching this game back, the completion to Brandon Ennis, not the pass interference, but the following play with the completion of Brandon Ennis, that was when I was kind of like, oh, Penn State's not sure what to do now. Like, they don't know what to do now.
Because you're trying to figure out what personnel packages you should have on the field and then what they're going to do out of those personnel packages. Because they spent that first drive showing you it doesn't matter who's on the field. It doesn't matter where we line them up. We can throw it and we can run it whenever we want. That's a dangerous game, especially in a world where you can't say the same thing. One, because of what you're putting on the field, but also because of what you have to go against on the other side.
Yeah.
That's a dangerous game, man. They try to go tempo again, play action, but the blocking is just not. It's the first time that from a pass protection standpoint, it's just like not great. And I get it. When you're having to hold up, Ryan Day said it after the game, when you're holding up for some of these deep shots Ohio State was trying to take it on Saturday, that's a lot. That's a lot on everybody, right? It's a lot on the guy running the route. It's a lot on the guy who's got to throw the ball, and it's a lot on the offensive line to have to hold up that long. So I get it. So Julian Sayin ends up throwing it away for his first incompletion of the game. So it's 2nd and 10. And then Isaiah West does what Bo Jackson literally did the first series. I'm going to go get 11 yards, and now we're right back on schedule. Because, yeah, that's why Day keeps preaching the explosive thing. It's not about the 51-yard run that Bo Jackson has later. It's about this type of stuff. Because you execute it, and then you're back that you recruited because he's an Ohio State level player, getting to the second level and then making something shake. Yeah. Isaiah West is good. He's a little bit more physical than Bo, too.
Yeah.
He can get after you a little bit.
Yeah.
1 yard run on the next play. Bubble pass to Brandon Ennis, 7 yards. Love that. I love that Brandon Ennis got 3 targets.
That was that felt like one of the plays where we hear it in the running game a lot of like, we'll get you 4 yards, you give me the rest. That was like they throw it to Brandon Ennis and he could have settled for like a yard or two there, and it was like, oh wow, Brandon Ennis is ready to like punch a dude in the face if he has to.
He's got some wiggle too, man.
Yeah.
Can I? Carnell, 5 of 5 for 124 and a touchdown. JJ, 6 of 6 for 123 and 2 scores. BI, 4 for 41. A lot of that came after the catch. And then Will Kazmarek had 1 14-yard catch. Claire had a 6-yard catch. Bennett had 2 catches for 4 yards. And then James Peoples got a catch. I do like that when they give Peoples a chance to be on the field, they actually put the ball in his hands. Because again, I think we've been a little too harsh on James Peoples. I don't think it's just they got 2 dudes in their room who are younger than him, and so they're starting to step over him. And then the old guy that you transferred in here is the guy they're asking to be situational. I am wondering if James Peoples could become that situational though if he keeps developing. But this is all I've been looking for Brandon Ennis. I wasn't asking them to give him the ball 12 times so he can do what Jackson Smith and Jigba could do, but it's just. Carnell and JJ are such threats down the field that if you're offsetting that with a guy who underneath you just give him like a little bubble screen or a little 3-yard out or something like that, and he turns it into a 9-yard gain. I mean, that's what Jackson did in 2021, right? Garrett and Chris were such like these monsters downfield. That's like, oh, you're taking that away? Okay, here's number 11. Go do something with it. And Jackson's like the best possible version of that, obviously, and the Seahawks are taking advantage of that now. And Emeka was too. But I think I felt like Jackson was more get the ball in his hands and watch him work. Emeka, not saying that he wasn't like that. He just had a little less wiggle, and he was more like, I'm a route running savant in here, and I can feel my way around anything. We just haven't known with BI, and I think we're learning which way of that he leans as a slot receiver. It's like he's a fine route runner. I don't think he's not on Emeka or Jackson's level as a route runner, but he's a pretty decent route runner. But if you put the ball in his hands, yeah, I think he's like an extension of your run game, which is why 4 for 41 is perfect, especially since I don't know if his routes on air was that high.
Yeah, I thought, and I know Ohio State fans at a certain point, they kind of, I think because of what happened last season, they got a little sick of Gus and Joel because of how often Ohio State was on Big Dune. I thought Gus and Joel, more than maybe any broadcast duo this year, was very understanding of like Brandon Ennis and knowing what's going on beyond like his statistics this year. Like the way they talked about him was very much like, yeah, we know what's going on. Like there's 2 dudes in front of him, and there's and I think Gus had even pointed out like at one point like, and Max Clare's been awesome too. Like. There's just there's some dudes on this roster, and Brandon Ennis has maybe had to be the one to be the great teammate in the room because he's had to sacrifice some things. And so props to Gus and Joel. I thought that they were very, very understanding of the moment when they could have easily been like, oh wow, Brandon Ennis getting involved. Where has this been all year? Like that's not the approach, like the tone that they had with Ohio State's attempts to get him the ball there on the second drive.
And you don't always get that from national people. They just kind of overreact to everything.
Yeah.
He's not as good as a Mecca or Jackson, especially at this stage in their career. That is also true, but what is also true is the gap between Garrett and Chris and where Jackson was is smaller, significantly. I think the gap between where Marv and Jackson were in 2022, especially once Jackson got hurt, and where Mecca was in 2022, much, much smaller. JJ and Carnell might be the best two outside receivers we've seen here in the past 15 years, man.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Maybe 20. And that's with all due respect to like Marv and Jackson. Not Jack, but Garrett and Chris and Michael Thomas and Ted Ginn Jr. and Anthony Gonzalez and Santonio. Like, there's been some dudes here, but these two, man, they don't make any sense. It's just ridiculous.
Tom Rinaldi's story on Carnell pregame was really good too.
Yeah. Well, Rinaldi's always awesome at those things.
Yeah.
It's cool that he's in a. I think it's cool that Carnell's in a space to talk about it now.
I think
because I think
one of the coolest, probably like unknown stories in college football this year has been Carnell Tate, at least in the public eye, kind of like breaking out of a shell. Like I think we're seeing his personality. I think we're seeing the way that he's handled, like unimaginable loss. Like he is like, I'm just watching him like talk in that interview with Tom Rinaldi, and I'm like, dude, this guy's like 20, 21 years old, and like the way he's like talking about this and like handling this, like it's like Brandon Innes was like almost getting emotional talking in the interview, and like Carnell's like buttoned up, put together, like talking about it. Like you kind of like seeing him like come out of his shell and like talk about being a leader for this team, being a voice in the locker room, but now also seeing him like talk about the stuff that he's gone through in his life. Like it's a pretty inspiring story, and I think like you're gonna be hearing that story a lot when ESPN is covering it in April, in the first round.
Yeah, and he's not new to the spotlight. This dude was basically a 5-star recruit coming out of high school. He's not new to the spotlight, but when you're still a kid, and also you just went through something that was pretty traumatic, right? It's not. No one's supposed to lose their mother at that age, man. That sucks. Just take some time to probably come around to that, especially when people are sticking microphones in your face. So, kudos. Like, it's cool to see a kid like that have his moment in the sun, and he's taking full advantage of it.
Mm-hmm.
So, Innis's bubble screen pass gets to 3rd and 2. Donaldson run, 1st and 6. So 1st and goal. Donaldson run.
Oh, can I say something about the Donaldson run? I took a note there. I like you notice the little lean Julian does when it's like, hey, we need you to get 1 yard on this run. Like he almost like he starts running like with CJ. He's like, listen, if you don't want to take this, like I'm just gonna run it up the middle myself and get this first down.
Yes. It's a tell. Julian Sayin has a tell when they're about to throw that. Especially when it's short yardage runs where it's like, please, I don't want to come off the field yet. But also Donaldson got -1 yards on the 1st and 6, and Heartland said, I'm not doing this anymore. We're putting the ball in the air. Puts the ball in the air to Tate, 3 yards. So we are 20 plays into this. And Julian Sayin just has his first actual incompletion of the game. On a 3rd and 4, tries to check down to James, who wasn't really open. But it is what it is. It's like your last effort. And a Penn State player makes a pretty good play on the ball. But this is his first. I tried to throw the ball to a person, and a Penn State defender said no. And we are 20 plays into the football game for them.
Pretty impressive stuff. We had a texter 614-350-3315 sent in a text about Julian Sayin's adjusted completion percentage, asking if throwaways were like factor into that. I don't think I'm pretty sure they're not. I think it's just drops.
Yeah, they take them out.
It would his adjusted completion percentage would be like 95%.
you texted, you tweeted something where you were like, he's completing 80% of his passes. If he only threw the ball down the field, he'd be completing 74%.
Yeah, his completion percentage, 20+ yards in the air, is 74%. That would still lead the nation in completion percent. Damon Williams, I think, is second in the nation. He's like 73 point something percent. It's like, okay, if Julian couldn't throw checkdowns or anything within 20 yards, he'd still be the most accurate quarterback in college football.
We're just living in a very different world than a year ago when we were 8 games in and we were asking Ryan Day about the ability to throw a deep ball. It's not even close, man. It's not even close. And it's with all due respect to the national champion that is Will Howard, but this is just not I think Will Howard said it at the combine where he was like, Julian's the most accurate quarterback I've ever seen. This is insane. They have to settle for a field goal, though, with all that being said. In the red zone, they have to settle for a field goal.
Yeah, that was, I mean, you pin some blame on Heisman. You also have to kind of look at Chaz Coleman and be like, oh, yeah, that dude just made a play.
I mean, centers are not supposed to know how to deal with a spin move.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to. All right. That's another note on here. Chaz Coleman is like, he's got to be on Ohio State's to-do list. And when the portal opens, right? Like, and I know I'm saying that about a guy who is not currently in the portal, but also I don't know. I think given how the world has changed in terms of college football, I think it's become normal to be a little bit more flippant about talking about these things.
I mean, Pantoni, it was either Pantoni when he was filling in on Ryan Day's radio show, or Ryan Day on his radio show talking about Mark Pantoni. I can't remember exactly what it was, but like they talked about how like their scouting department, like, and this happens all around the country. I know, like, places that I've covered in the past, like, it happens around the country. Right now, like, the people in, like, the scouting department and whatever are looking at guys who might enter the portal at the end of the year, right? Like, everyone in the country is watching LSU games intently, being like, hey, is this backup freshman defensive end a fit for what we might try to do on defense next year? Is this backup quarterback who's getting some opportunity a fit for maybe what we want to do next year? So like that's happening everywhere. So like, you know, Coleman's maybe a glaring example of that just because he's from Ohio and he's talented and all this and that. But like every team in the country is watching every Penn State game, or at least people in their scouting departments are watching every Penn State game being like, oh, is that, you know, backup safety going to enter the portal? Because he's a pretty talented freshman and maybe we can bring him into, you know, West Virginia next year, or something, whatever it is, you know. It's like that's happening everywhere. And also, if a redcoat wants to tell a player that he knows his uncle, he can tell a player he knows his uncle without it being tampering.
Oh, you mean that wasn't a person who was associated with the Ohio State coaching staff talking to him?
It's like everyone Ohio State staff, like basically everyone wears like the same thing on game day, and it's like here's this person wearing a hat with like a bunch of like the pins you like put into hats, and like is very obviously like not like a part of the coaching staff, and like people are just like freaking out about it.
Like, yeah, Chaz Coleman is from Warren, Ohio. I'm sure there are people in Columbus who probably know who he is.
Yes.
Everybody gotta relax, man. And that's for people who are on Twitter. We call them the red coats, the people who do the security around there. That's not the derogatory term. No, it's just because they all wear red coats all the time. That's why they call the red
coats. Call themselves that.
I know, but there's probably, if you've never been to Ohio Stadium before, and you've never, you don't know who the red coats are. We deal with them on a daily basis, so we know who they are.
We're not here to entertain the Revolutionary War.
Yeah. The red coats are not coming. Okay, drive number 3. This is where like Heartline's just like, you know what? Let's just see what happens. 1st and 10. Julian Sand throw to Brandon Ennis. This is his final incompletion of the game. They're on their 3rd drive, and I think their 21st play, and he is on his final incompletion of the game. And there's like 9 minutes left in the second quarter. Come on, man. Give him the freaking Heisman Trophy. It's a bad throw, though. It is a bad throw.
Yeah.
He gets pressured, so that's partially why it ends up being a bad throw. They're running mesh routes, and so there is an art to throwing mesh routes, right? Because they're literally hitting a moving target who's like moving in a straight line. So there is like Arch Manning struggled with this in the season opener. So it's a thing, but it's a bad throw. He's getting pressured. He has to move out to his right, so it's late. But then he puts it in a bad spot where It just wasn't a reasonable thing to ask Brandon Inniss to try to do something with that. And at worst, he makes the catch, but then he gets hit in a way that he's not going to catch the ball anyway. So that's shame on Julian Sayin. Okay, it's 2nd and 10. Bo Jackson run. This is what I was talking about earlier about Ryan and Day talking about get you to the second level and then you do something. He has to make that guy in the hole miss. And I know that's easier said than done, but that's kind of the point is you have to make somebody miss here because if he makes somebody miss, he's off to the horses. It's like gone. And Joe Klatt's even talking about this, but it's that should have been an explosive run. And I'm sure that Carlos Loughlin and Ryan Day are going to be looking at this game film and going, this is where you got to have it, Bo, because this is why we brought you in here. We got you in an area where now Bo can be Bo, but you have to be Bo. And then Julian Sayin enters the Heisman Trophy conversation, and I'm pretty sure this is the exact moment in life when Vegas decided to make him the favorite for the Heisman Trophy. Kudos to Austin Sierreveld, who got beat, but then still found a way to make another block instead of just standing there and being like, "Oh no, I got beat." Because you get beat like that, it's easy to give up on the play. I'm gonna let you talk about it. I just want to bring this up. Did you notice when you were watching the game back? Because I didn't realize this in real time because we were talking about it. They played moves like Jacker.
I just tweeted it.
Okay, cool.
I tweeted it 20 minutes ago. I tweeted that clip because I was rewatching it and I noticed that as well. The people at Ohio Stadium have had like the audio and like video operators have had their finger hovering over buttons like ready to go in like certain situations, like the Knowles Patricia thing that they did, the moves like Jagger thing, like they're locked in on that. Yeah, so they know what they're doing. Yeah, man, like that was special. That was an element of Julian Sayin's game that we have not really seen a ton. And this is so I told you in my notes I had plays circled, things like that, sequences circled. I have this I have a star next to this sequence, and it's actually not just because of the scramble. It's because of the next play. The next play is a completion to Julian Sayin, to Jeremiah Smith over the middle of the field.
Yep.
Again, Julian Sayin he scrambled for 9 yards. He probably ran for it probably felt like he ran like 70 yards just because of everything. And then also, by the way, he lowered his shoulder and got hit by 2 guys. Yep. So this young quarterback, who's not the most mobile guy in the world, just scrambled and got you 9 yards. And he probably feels like he just went through hell for about 15 seconds. And he gets up and you line up and what are you thinking if you're Penn State? Okay, they're just going to hand the ball off here and let Julian catch his breath for a second. Nope. Yep. You give him an easy completion it's an easy completion that ends up going for 12 yards or whatever it is with Jeremiah Smith. And it's like Penn State thought that maybe they could catch their breath for a second as well. It's like, nope, foot still on the pedal. Julian saying you fine? Yep. All right, keep going. Hey, nice run. All right, next play. It's just time and time again, it felt like you could maybe predict what Ohio State was going to do in a certain situation, and they did the opposite. And this was another one of those where I'm watching it back, and and Julian must be pretty gassed. Okay, boom, quick pass, easy completion, keep going. When you probably expect the handoff, they give it to JJ across the middle of the field.
And this is why earlier when he had to throw the Inniss, where you're like, bad throw, because you can make that throw. You just made a bad throw. They also didn't slow down. Again, they do that, and you're right. Your quarterback does all that. You probably want to reset and just breathe. No, Brian Hartline used that as an opportunity to go tempo and then just toy with Jim Knowles of over the middle, run, Cardinal touchdown. It was a very, we've got you on your, we've built, it built to something. Every single play, 4 pass plays, 2 runs. One of the pass plays ends up being a scramble. So it ends up being a run, but it's a pass play that was called. 6 plays that all built off of each other. And it felt like this is what they do. This is, I'm serious. This is Ryan Day's offense, where that quickly they just score a touchdown. That's what points per play, I think, is one of the best stats because that shows you what type of offense you're dealing with. Sometimes 6 plays got you 7 points. Like that's what you know what I'm saying. This is what they do, but this is always what they do. And these are the type of drives where, and I don't know if you've noticed this in your 2 years now covering this team, where it feels like there's times where you blink and Ohio State's up by a lot of points. You're like, what the heck just happened? It's these avalanches that go on. And I feel like what we're talking about right now, this is drive number 3, where it's 6 plays that ends in a 45-yard touchdown. These are the type of drives that explain what the heck just happened. One thing built on another thing, built on another thing, built on another thing, and before you know it, the ball's 45 yards over your head, and the first-round wide receiver's catching a touchdown pass. And you never got a chance to collect your thoughts with it.
I love this conversation happening, and I glance up and like Jackson Smith and Jigba's running for like 15 yards on completion. Like it's
speaking of,
like it's ridiculous. And this is like this game kind of feels like a crowning moment so far for Brian Hartline, the coordinator. And as like all that's happening, we're reminded literally every single Saturday and Sunday how impressive the wide receiver recruiting and development has been under his watch. Because we're like, you and I like are not really interested in like publicly at least speaking about like the world of speculation, but like
not really.
That was a hell of an audition for Penn State if they have any interest. Like they're probably sitting there being like, hey, that offensive coordinator is pretty damn good.
I think if he does this for the next 10 games, they're like, yeah, sure. Like I think this game for Brian Hartline, take away the opponent. This is what Julian Sayin did against Grambling in terms of showing us, can you do it? Right? We believe you can be this if it hits. And Grambling, it was like, yeah, I can do that. And then I think the Minnesota game is probably even more of that because it's a Big Ten opponent who's, I think, pretty decent. I think Minnesota is a quality middle-of-the-road Big Ten team. They're not special. They're not bad. They're just, every week, they're going to be in a rock fight with you. And I think that's a respectable place to be. I think every conference has teams like that. Literally. Yeah. Florida, Mississippi State this year, right? This is Vandy. They just happen to come out on the right side of some of those rock fights, and so they end up being a top 10 team in the country. But the middle class of a conference where one thing goes differently, you could be 7-1, but a thing goes the other way, you could be 1-7. But it's like, I don't know, you being 5-2, 5-3 is just a this is why your record is like this, because sometimes it's this and sometimes it's that. But yeah, man, like these 3 actual drives of the first half are, can you do it? Yes. And this is why they spent 7 weeks before the second bye week tinkering. Because I would not classify what we saw on Saturday as tinkering. I would classify that as, we like this bucket, this bucket, this bucket, this bucket, this bucket, and this bucket. Okay, cool. We're going to put all those in a binder, and that's what we're running on Saturday. And that's what they did.
Yeah.
It wasn't today's about the run game, so we're going to run the ball a lot more, even if it looks annoying to watch. Today is about the pass game, even if it means we only run it like 12 times because Julian threw it 40-plus times. Today was, you get everything. You see the run game build on itself for 60 minutes, and you see Julian Sayin can drop everything in a bucket. And even if he's in half a centimeter off, we have 2 dudes on the outside who catch everything. And the play caller is learning how to put it all together. And he's finding his rhythm, and he's learning the art of play calling. And I think now it's ready. It's not peaked, I don't think. I mean, there's 2 months left in the season. I don't think it's peaking right now, but it's at least starting to climb, which I think is where they wanted to be coming out of November 1st.
Yeah, and I think this conversation's important too, because and the last play left for us to talk about is the fumble right before the end of the half, and it's the thing of, you hear people say Ohio State hasn't played anyone, like, oh, Ohio State messed around with Penn State, and it's like, we just ran through like 30 plays, and I noted 7 of them as like what I guess Ohio State like would consider like an unsuccessful play, right? And and one of them is like Julian saying throwing it away. Like that's not so much unsuccessful as it is just like, okay, like whatever, like there was nothing there. But I'll count it for the sake of this conversation. I'll count it. 75% of their plays in the first half, like I think they would consider successful. And one of them was just weird, and Penn State took advantage of them, and props to them. But it's like, if you watch the game, this is why even at halftime we were like, Ohio State's fine. 3 out of every 4 plays were working. And guess what? How many plays do you get in football to get a first down? 4. So if 3 out of the 4 work, you're probably okay.
Especially when like 2 of those plays might already have gotten you a first down.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
exactly.
Like 3 out of 4 plays worked. Yeah, all 3 of them were first downs.
I just appreciated these 30 plays for what they signified. From the only other question mark we have about this offense, in terms of, is it as good as maybe we think it can be? And that's Brian Hartline as a play caller. And we saw that on Saturday. And so listen, everything's about consistency in life, right? Everybody can do something once. It's about, can you do it over and over and over again? But everybody can do something once. It's not true. Let me see you do it once. That's what Ryan Day would call flashing. Doing it with consistency, that's the thing that eventually gets you on the football field. And Brian Hartline flashed on Saturday. And that's great. We don't have to run long with these ones, but also I had to note Chaz Coleman needs to be at the top of OSU's portal list again, right here, because it's just that kid is gonna watch this film and they're gonna be like, put the defensive film on. You see number 8, you're gonna do that next year. You and CJ Hicks. 1st and 10. They're getting Sayin out of the pocket now. Play action boot to Will Kazmarek for 14 yards. I like that because your offensive line's been doing a great job. They've been doing a lot of pass pro for deep shots. So if you can get him on the move a little bit and take some of the pressure off the offensive line. Again, purpose, right? There's a reason they did that. 1st and 10. Carnell, 57 yards down the field. Am I nitpicking, or is this a problem? The fact that he got down to the 4-yard line, and I was like, I kind of wish he would have got the extra 4 yards there. And it's because of how the next 3 plays played out, of like Bo Jackson couldn't get in the end zone. He only got 2 yards. Now he only needs 2 yards. Bo Jackson can't get into the end zone. He only got half of the yards needed, and then they bring CJ Dawson. Fine, they got to the end zone, but like I do still worry about the red zone short yardage thing. Yep. And especially in situations like this, if you did all this work, you threw a 60-yard bomb down the field, but because your receiver couldn't get 1 more yard out of it, you end up having to settle for a field goal, and so the defense wins.
Yeah, I don't know if it's the way the play kind of played out. Like I don't know if Carnell could have like really fought for another yard.
No, he couldn't.
It's more like a, I will say, and I can't remember if it was this 57-yard pass or the other 57-yard pass, or maybe the 45-yard pass that it happened on. But like, Julian is properly underthrowing the ball, as opposed to like last year when we were having conversations about like Will Howard just underthrowing deep balls sometimes. Like, he's underthrowing it in a manner where it's either going to be like his guy makes a play. Like, it's never like you see an underthrow and you're like, oh, that's picked off. Like, it's never like that. It's like, it's always, if I overthrow it, Carnell and JJ can't make a play. But if I underthrow it, it might be a tough play, but they'll make it, or they at least have a chance to make it.
It's the difference between a quarterback who just doesn't have the arm strength to get it there versus this looks like the result of they're telling him to do this, which Day has said. They put a little bit of air under it so they can run under it, and then they're 6'4", so they can make a play on it in a way that if they were Chris and Garrett, who are 6'6'1", maybe, you probably do just want it to just drop into the bucket and they run under it, right? If Brandon Ennis is running a go route, you probably just want to put it out in front of him and let him go get it because he's a little bit smaller. 6'4", you probably can leave it a little bit short. And it's not even a situation of, you left it a little bit short and now you get a DPI out of it. You get it a little bit short and they can at least go fight for the ball. And more often than not, these two are going to come down with the ball. So yeah, I agree with that. It's if you're seeing that, it's yes, it's an underthrow, but it's not an underthrow without purpose. That he's being told to do that. And given the way Heartline is recruiting receivers now, there's a lot more people who look like Marvin Harrison Jr. than there are who look like Garrett Wilson, which was not true 4 years ago. And I remember before the 2022 season, I asked Heartline about that. I'm like, hey, man, I think I said to him directly, I think you have a type. And he said, what type of type? And I said, I don't know, 6'1", anywhere from 190 to 205, can do something with the catch. Because go look back at those rooms. Chris was around that. Garrett was around that. Jamison Williams was around that. Jackson was around that. Emeka and Brandon Ennis are around that. And then Marvin Harrison Jr. was the outlier. Well, now look at the room. You got JJ, Carnell, Quincy Porter, Bodpin Miller, even if he's got like the longest development track that you can think of in the wide receiver room, Demarion Witten, Chris Henry Jr. Like, they got a bunch of giants in there now, man. Like, what did Matt Patricia say a couple weeks ago? Can you guys rush? Yeah, man. These dudes are the same size as Arvell Reese. It's just, but that's what you want. You got varying sizes. You got legit X receivers in that room now.
Yeah. It's wild. I will say sometimes, life, you feel like you've gotten lucky at times. I felt very blessed on this weekend that as a Bears fan, I watched Jeremiah Smith and Carnell Tate on Saturday, and then I went and watched Jamar Chase and T. Higgins on Sunday. I watched him put up 41 points or 42 points or whatever it was on my team in a loss. Bears did win that game. Sorry to the Ohio State Bengals fans. Like watching Chase and T. Higgins, like there's a lot of Carnell Tate. I guess I should technically say there's a lot of T. Higgins and Carnell Tate. I almost said there's a lot of Carnell Tate and T. Higgins. I can't. T. Higgins is very good. I can't do that yet. Maybe in a couple of years I can do that. I can't do that yet. And then, like, it's just having that. Like, there's no doubt that Jamar Chase is, if not the best receiver in the NFL, then second best, right? It's him and Justin Jefferson in that conversation. I know JSN has awesome numbers. I'd still take those two guys.
No, it's those two guys still.
And it's like, it kind of feels that way at Ohio State, where it's like everyone knows Jeremiah Smith is like the Heisman type dude and the guy at receiver. But then you got this like dude who can do everything in Carnell Tate, especially like down the field and deep shots. It's pretty remarkable, like those combinations to have it. And T. Higgins made a play, his first touchdown against the Bears, where I was just like, yeah, I watched number 17 do that on Saturdays pretty often.
Ohio has two of the dirtiest passing attacks in all of the world, and then there's the Cleveland Browns.
Was it a texter or someone on Twitter? What was the context of someone saying Jerry Jeudy would maybe make the Ohio State starting lineup?
Somebody on Twitter said it. Yeah, they said maybe he would be in the top 4. He would be in the top 4, man. He would be number 3.
Jerry Jeudy was like all-American college wide receiver.
You know what I'm saying? That dude won. Like we think that Jeremiah Smith's going to win the Biletnikoff Award as a sophomore. Jerry Jeudy also did win the Biletnikoff Award as a sophomore, while being in a room that was significantly loaded. It's that Bama 2018 room was probably more loaded than this Ohio State room right now, because you had 4 first-round picks in it.
Yeah, probably.
I'm not going to say for certain this room has 4. I'm not going to say it doesn't have 4 first-round picks in it. There's 2 for sure. And then Milan and Quincy have just not shown enough yet to justify us saying that.
Yeah.
So, and I think Brandon Ennis is a draft pick. The measurables probably, he's not going to be a first-round draft pick. It's fine. That's okay. I can't be a first. 32 people. Man.
We could, do we know if Chris Henry, when he's getting to campus?
He's going to, listen.
Okay.
Yeah, he gets here in January. Yes. If he's a starter next year,
there could be a cool picture taken at like the Fiesta Bowl or something where Tate is still on the roster.
Oh, I have one of those types of pictures. So I think I gotta find it. It's on my Twitter, but it's back in like
there was the one last year in the locker room, I think, with Brandon Inniss, Emeka, Jeremiah, and Carnell Tate. I think at the Rose or the Cotton Bowl locker room, maybe. But I'm saying, like, if we're worried that there's not 4 first-round receivers on the roster right now, if Carnell Tate just hangs on and takes a picture with Chris Henry Jr. on campus, and maybe one of those bowl practices or something, then we could have it.
Well, that's what I was gonna say. It's the what is it? It's the picture of Ohio State playing Indiana back in 2021 when it's like all these first rounders in it, and with like Chris.
Yeah, I got you on the bench.
There's that. There's a picture in 2021 after the Michigan State game where it's CJ, Jackson, Garrett, and Chris all in the locker room after that game, and it's like I cannot believe Ohio State had all that in one building. I took a picture at a spring practice in 2023, and it says caption this. I took the picture on April 1st, 2023. It said caption this. In the photo, and this is in hindsight, it's Kyle McCord, Aaron Noland, Emeka Buka, Brandon Inniss, Marvin Harrison Jr., Julian Fleming, and Carnell Tate. And Carnell Tate's a true freshman early enrollee who had just lost his black stripe, and Brandon Inniss is going to get there that summer. That's just like not. Come on, man. How many stars are in that room? But yes, I'm going to be deep diving into the wide receiver thing this week. It's going to take some time, and I still don't have internet, so it's taking more time than it should. But I am wondering here, man, if 2019 Joe Burrow, Jamar Chase, and Justin Jefferson were immaculate, and like, are we seeing that again? And are they better than that trio? Can they be better than that trio? And I just want to kind of poke at that idea of them being better than those guys. Okay, there's that. We're going to take a break. Stefan kind of segued us with a little bit of Heisman talk there, and we're going to talk about the Heisman because Ohio State is all in on JJ and Julian now, and one of them winning the Heisman Trophy. So let's take a break, and then we'll come back and we'll shift gears and talk Heisman talk on Buckeye Talk.
From Curtis 50 Cent Jackson.
Tommy back.
Yeah, I am.
And the executive producers of Power.
There's levels to this game.
Comes the final season of Force.
We're going to have to be careful about our next move.
We get what we can now and take the rest later. This is going to be the battle of our life. It's go time.
This is a dangerous life that I choose to be in with you.
Force.
Have a bet against me because I'm always winning.
Premieres November 7th, only on Stars and the Stars app.
You're tuned into Auto Intelligence, live from Auto Trader, where data, tools, and your preferences sync to make your car shopping smooth.
They're searching inventory.
Oh, yeah.
They find what you need.
They're gonna find it.
You can make a budget for your wallet to help you succeed. Pricing's precise and true.
So true.
It's smarter car shopping.
Ooh.
Just for you.
Oh, it's just for you. Ooh. Find your next ride at autotrader.com. Powered by Auto Intelligence.
I'm 32, juggling family, working full-time, and earning a bachelor's degree. At University of Phoenix, I earn career-relevant skills with every 5-week course. Skills I can use now, not just after graduation.
Earn skills in weeks, not years. Visit phoenix.edu.
Ray-Ban Meta glasses come with open-ear audio, so you can listen to your favorite music without blocking out the world around you.
Hey, Meta, play Gorgeous.
Here's Gorgeous by Doja Cat.
You can also ask Meta AI questions.
Hey, Meta, when's Doja Cat's next concert?
Doja Cat is playing at the Los Angeles Theater next Tuesday.
Sweet.
Ray-Ban Meta glasses, available at Ray-Ban stores and other authorized retailers.
And we're back here on Buckeye Talk. Stephen Means and Stefan Krajisnik on your Leave No Doubt pod. I mean, that's if you had any doubts about Brian Hartline's ability to do this, I think you probably killed those doubts off on Saturday. Now it's about, can you find it again and again and again and again and again and again, because you got 8 more games left potentially to win a national championship, maybe 9, depending on what you do in that Big Ten championship game, though. I don't think Indiana has an answer for that. I don't think anybody has an answer for that. I barely think teams in the NFL have an answer for those 3. And that's the last part of that is hyperbolic. Listen, if the Cleveland Browns played the Ohio State Buckeyes, they would win the football game. And it would not be close. And it's not because Ohio State's bad. It's because Ohio State has good players. The Cleveland Browns have only good players.
Yeah, I mean,
only.
Julian Sayin hasn't faced Myles Garrett yet.
There's levels to this. It's the Browns are not good in relation to the level they are on, not in relation to football, period. I posed 2 questions to our texters. The first question was, who would you vote for between Julian Sayin and Jeremiah Smith to win the Heisman Trophy if it all ended today? And I think the way I posed it to you, Stefan, was if you could only get one, who would you vote for? If you could only send one of them to New York, which one would you send?
I think it would be Julian Sayin right now. I think the completion percentage kind of speaks for itself. And if you're watching the games, you know that's happening in a manner that isn't just like game manager or something like that. Like I think Julian Sayin is probably the best arm talent in college football and the best quarterback in college football. And Ohio State's offense is not just the result of its weapons, right? I think the weapons go a long way, and Jeremiah Smith is a massive part of that. But you can't watch their games and not think, boy, is this thing humming, because Julian Sayin knows what to do with the ball on every play, it feels like, right? Even when it's like throwing it away. Like he's made like 1 or 2 like head scratching decisions this year. And his team's undefeated. Everyone's eating on the offense. And honestly, like maybe another part of this is the running game hasn't exactly been stellar. And he's been playing like this offense is just fine working around that until they figure that out. Because you can kind of get in this area of like, well, you don't want to be one dimensional, and I don't think they are. But if your running game is struggling a bit, I think that would be normally an excuse for maybe the quarterback to have some struggles in the passing game, and that just hasn't been the case. So yeah, I would go Julian Sayin right now.
We're going to be doing a lot of Heisman stuff this week. The live show on Wednesday is going to be us. We don't vote in the Heisman Trophy, so we don't have to follow the rules that Heisman Trophy voters have to follow. So we can talk about what we would vote. And we're going to be hypothetical Heisman Trophy voters. And heading into the last 4 weeks of the regular season, if the Heisman Trophy ended, if the season had already ended and we were having to turn in our votes on Wednesday, what would be our 4-person ballot, plus 3 guys who just missed our list, plus a couple of other things. We're going to do some other awards too. So this is going to be a Heisman-centric. This was already going to be a Heisman-centric week. Ohio State just decided to say this is definitely going to be a Heisman-centric week. And I get why you started it now. You come out of the Penn State game, you don't necessarily play a premier opponent again until Michigan, and you would like to have that momentum heading into the Michigan game where it feels like that game punctuates it rather than starts it. And people have already been thinking about you for 3 weeks. Our texters agreed with you. 69.59 said they would vote for Julian Sayin to win the Heisman Trophy. Here's the other side of that question. Which winner would be a bigger deal for Ohio State's program? And I think that is a much more nuanced conversation. And I'll start with this text, because our texters like give their thoughts of why. And they broke down why this is a tough question. The 740 tough question. Sayin winning it would be huge for Ryan Day's legacy. Ryan Day is a QB guy, and to finally get the Heisman would be huge. But JJ winning it puts the stamp on who wide receiver you is.
That's my answer. Shout out. What was the area code on that texter?
740.
Yeah, shout out to the 740. I read your prompt for our podcast discussions today, and I said, I'm not going to give Steven an answer. I'm just going to give both sides of it because I don't know what the answer is. And those were the 2 sides of it. Let me start with this. I sent a text to our texters late-ish Saturday night as I was kind of listening back to Ryan Day's press conference. And I think I might have actually been wrong in my text, but I think I might have like accidentally also been right in my text. Like I think what Day said should not have been interpreted the way I interpreted it, but I think the way I interpreted it was actually kind of right. Where he talked about like quarterback development, and he basically said like when you're a position coach, like you want that school to be like that position you. So if you're Brian Hartline, you want Ohio State to be wide receiver you. If you're Keenan Bailey, you want it to be tight end you. If you're Ryan Day, when you arrived as a quarterbacks coach, you want it to be quarterbacks you. And I'm sitting there thinking, the way I interpreted it was him saying like, if you were a position coach, if you came up through the ranks as a position coach and then you're a head coach, like that program better be like that position you. That's how I interpret it. I think that wasn't exactly what Ryan Day was saying, but like if you're Ryan Day and you are the head coach, like your quarterbacks better be your quarterbacks. And it had me just like thinking beyond what Ryan Day was saying of just like how telling of James Franklin at Penn State that like wide receiver was the problem. And that should have been like his thing. Like Penn State should be wide receiver U under James Franklin. And instead, wide receiver was genuinely why, or probably why, they couldn't take that step from like good to elite. Because who were their quarterbacks supposed to throw to? Like, doesn't it kind of like, didn't it always feel that way during James Franklin's tenure where it's like, why has this guy not figured out receiver specifically?
Yeah, it's a couple of things I can attack there. I guess we'll start with JJ with that concept. Yes, to answer your question, in short, yes. It's. I think you and I had been saying it for a couple of months now, but it's kind of ridiculous that a receivers coach who also played quarterback as a college football player can't figure out how to get a receiver to come to his school.
Yeah.
It's a little weird. Day has brought that point up before, the QBU thing.
Mm-hmm.
And
because he was asked about Ohio State being like O-line U, I think. Like, why, like, can they be O-line U? And he was like, he was basically just like, I mean, Tyler Bowen better think it can be, because why is he here?
So he's brought it up before. You are not wrong in that interpretation, and I also think there's some, like, symmetry there because of who they just played. I don't think it's a wrong interpretation. I just don't think that is where he would have. I think if you were to say that to him, he'd have been like, I didn't think about it that way, but it's also not off base.
Yeah, I don't think he was throwing like a shade at James Franklin.
No. But I do think the interpretation isn't off to just think like, oh, you're the head coach here. At bare minimum, this position group better be stellar, right? Like even Lincoln Riley, for all of his pitfalls, quarterback has always been pretty good, right? That's what the idea of that is, and I do think some of that is the privilege of he is running a program that he was first a soldier in. If that makes sense. So when he first got here in 2017, his job was to fix the quarterbacks in the offense. JT Barrett did not look good in 2016. And if you remember, the last game Ohio State played before Ryan Day took over as head coach, they got shut out by Clemson in the college football play. He was brought in to fix the offense, starting with JT Barrett. And if you I've gone back and listened to it a lot of different times because I just want to talk today about this one day. It's his first interview as an assistant coach here in 2017. Every question I felt like was a different variation of, hey, JT's broken, right? Hey, JT, you can fix him, right? What did you hate about JT? What's the first thing you want? It was different variations of that question. That's how I took it. So to go from that to on Saturday, it's like, dude, you've had Dwayne, Justin, CJ. To go from where that was, to go from, hey, can you fix JT Barrett, to the worst thing he's done, the worst quarterback development he's had, is a dude who now is the record holder in the ACC for the most passing yards in a single season. That's what he's talking about. When he says it needs, like, when James Laurinaitis got here and now the linebacker recruiting and look how the linebackers are playing, that's how it should be. What Brian Hartline has done in the receiver room is not cool outlier. That's expectation. Tim Walton gets in here and starts fixing the cornerback room. Matt Guerrieri with the safeties. Keenan Bailey, look at what he has done with the tight ends in 3 years, right? Tyler Bowen, to your point, do that. Brian Hartline should not be sitting at a table by himself, even if he's like technically always going to be sitting at a table by himself, because nobody's ever started their coaching career like this, where it's been this good. But that's from our side of the fence. Their side of the fence, well, the wide receivers are the best in the country. Every other position should be the best in the country. We should be recruiting the best players. We should be developing the best players. Our players should be getting drafted. Our players should be winning all these things. So it was, yes, you are not wrong. But it was also a bigger picture conversation of, that was my attitude when I got here in 2017. And that better be the attitude of every single position coach I hire in here. Because I know it's possible, because I did it. I fixed JT Barrett and I turned him into Julian Sayin 7 years later.
I think now you have to decide, would a Heisman be more valuable to like Ryan Day solidifying that he has turned this into QBU, or would it be more valuable being like, well, Ryan Day's got quarterback figured out. Oh, and then also quarterbacks, if you need another reason to come here, it's now officially wide receiver you because they just won the Heisman with a wide receiver.
Let's start with JJ. From the 216, Jeremiah only because he's obviously playing wide receiver, a position that rarely wins it. That's true. They've had 2 wide receivers win the Heisman Trophy in the past 40 years, and that's Desmond Howard and, of course, Devontae Smith won it in 2020. But both in New York, and 1 wins is absolutely spectacular. That's what happened with Alabama with Mac Jones and Devontae Smith. Though it felt like Devontae Smith got there because of Devontae Smith, and Mac Jones got there because he was a quarterback of the best team in college football. That's not true with Julian saying.
Mm-hmm.
He is that, but it's more than just that. From the 614, it's another person who's thinking like you in the 740, where they voted one way, but their heart was maybe in a different way. I voted for Julian Sayin because the kid is dynamite and arguably the hardest position. The accuracy, patience / vision mixed with the decision-making at his age is spot on. It's hard to vote against. The statement for the program, though, goes to Jeremiah. The university in the past 10 years has truly grown to wide receiver U. If Jeremiah brings home a Heisman, it completely solidifies that and continues the wide receiver U moving forward with recruiting. All of these guys coming out of high school know that if you want to be a first-round draft pick at wide receiver, you choose Ohio State, but both deserve it. Because a couple others from the JJ point of view. From the 440, JJ would just be the cherry on top of what has been a generational run at wide receiver at OSU. Any non-quarterback winning the Heisman is noteworthy just due to how quarterback dominant the award is. From the 614, voted for Jeremiah and think he's bigger because it's a non-traditional position, but it's the cap on a long run as the best position group in the country. They'd get the award to they'd give the award to the actual best player, which never happens. From Jack in the 81 to 281, I voted JJ and found out I'm in the 23% minority. This is before I turned off the results so people could see it as they were voting. I forgot to do that. We all make mistakes in life. If the Heisman Award is truly for the college football's best player, it's JJ's hands down. Among QBs, it's hands down Sayin. But what JJ is doing to open things up for Carnell and continue to put Heisman-worthy numbers and not be a prima donna about it is what the trophy is all about. It's weird because, like, hey, JJ, are you upset because you're not getting the ball more? And then you look at his numbers and he's like top 5 in the country in catches and yards and touchdowns. It just feels like I like the conversation Joel and Gus had where Joel was talking about he got into an argument with Chip Kelly where he was telling Chip, like, JJ's always open. And Chip was like, no, he's not. And they were like, yes, he is. So everybody was mad at Chip Kelly then for not giving JJ the ball more. Cool.
Scott Van Pelt did it too.
So wait, is that what we should have just been doing? We should have all just been hitting up Chip Kelly? Like, yo, 4. Let's do it, man. From the 904, I voted JJ because I truly believe he's the best player in the country. And the cheapening of the Heisman over the past years is because it's picking stats and not the best player. JJ is getting double teamed on 80% of offensive plays and still producing like no one's guarding him. The answer to the question, JJ matters more in my eyes because a QB can get it all day. But if a receiver gets it, then it shows more truth in the voting, not just stats, are going with the flow from voters. I love how that was a beautiful way to say voters are dumb. I'm so serious. From the 153, to me, Jeremiah is the bigger statement. Julian Sayin is awesome, but was not an initial Ohio State commit. Plus, I really do believe Jeremiah Smith is the best player in college football and affects the game even when he doesn't have the ball in his hands. And then last one from the JJ side, and then we can dive into that a little bit. From the 614, bigger statement for winning the Heisman, I think it's Smith. It cements OSU as wide receiver U. Brian Hartline is the best position and assistant coach in the country, and the best of the Buckeyes past builds the best of the Buckeyes today and future. I don't think any of those are insane to say.
I agree with all of it.
Also, it's just kind of like Ryan Day almost fainted about this kid. And so every time there's a chance to go, that's why Ryan Day almost fainted about this kid. I think we have to root for that moment to happen. I also just think Jeremiah Smith might end up being the best receiver ever. And I know he doesn't even turn 20 for 2 more weeks, and there's a lot of football to be played both at this level and at the next level, right? And I just said that a not even 20-year-old yet is going to one day be a better wide receiver than Jerry Rice, Calvin Johnson. The list goes on, right? Randy Moss. Though Gus Johnson said it, watch out, Randy Moss, when he caught the one-hander, which is insane. That was a lot more crazy than I thought it was.
Yeah,
I didn't realize he snagged it with one hand after doing all that.
Yeah, we forgot to bring up that play, which probably a sign that he's pretty good.
Yeah, because it was later in the game, but it was like it was another RPO too, where it's like I think Julian made the right decision. The Penn State guy just made a good play, and JJ's like, "Good play. I'm better than you." Also, Austin Sarabelt said some words I can't repeat in the microphone.
Oh, on the hot mic, or
yeah, when they were celebrating with JJ, he got caught up on the mic.
I didn't. I got to go back and see that.
I did. I like to see Austin. I like offensive linemen.
Did you hear? Did you hear JJ on the referee's hot mic during the roughing the passer and PI on or holding on Brandon Inniss, where I didn't even hear in real time that the referee had messed up and said it was offsetting penalties, and JJ goes, "Nah, both of them were both fouls are on them."
John the JJ. Yeah, I just think I don't know anything that adds to that resume, man. I think he's gonna be the best receiver to ever do this, man. And if one day we look back and go, he won the Heisman Trophy, his second year in college football with a whole nother year left.
If one of them wins it this year, do they have to just campaign for the other guy next year? Like, if Julian wins it, does he have to like forego the Heisman next year and say you have to pick Jeremiah?
So he just only throws the ball to JJ all game.
I mean, someone tell Chip
I think if Ohio State's going to repeat that feat of having a guy win it twice, I think they have a better chance of doing it with Julian Sayin than they do Jeremiah Smith.
Yeah. You know who I would love to talk to if Julian Sayin wins the Heisman? And this is not like I'm literally wearing a Bear shirt while we're having this conversation. I would love to like talk to Caleb Williams and be like, what was it like to win the Heisman and come back to college football?
Caleb, Bryce Young, like all these quarterbacks who in their first year as a starting quarterback, they just like Jameis Winston, right? I'd throw him. It's your first year. Like you go from you're somebody's backup to now all of a sudden they throw you on the field and you immediately are like that. Yeah. So you feel like you're like fighting against yourself every single Saturday.
Yeah. Like is I don't know if it's like I don't know if complacency is the word or like because I remember watching Caleb like his last year with USC and everyone's like, wow, this guy took a step back. It's like, I don't know, man. I think he was just really good last year and he's really good again this year. And like I think we always assume like, oh, there's like, oh, he's got to take this next step. And it's like, I don't know. What if like some guys just like reach a level early on? It's like, then they have to battle with like that next step because you're already such a celebrity.
Yeah, I actually don't. I think Caleb was better his second year. It's just the team wasn't as good, so he had to be Superman more often in his second year than he did in his first year as a starting quarterback. Right? It's just that's all it was. USC was objectively significantly worse in 2023 than they were in 2022. Like it's not even close. And even Alabama too. They were not as good in 2022 as they were in 2021. Julian Sayin might not have that problem, right? I think as good as this team is this year, they got a lot of young dudes, man. Like Riley Pettijohn had a hit on special teams. I'm just like ready for him to play.
Yeah.
I don't want to push Arvell and Sonny out the door. They're amazing. I just don't. I don't want to do that. I objectively have very much enjoyed watching those two play linebacker.
Yeah.
I've just seen the movie before, and I feel like those two are what Chris and Garrett were, where you're like, oh my God, I've never seen anything like this. This is amazing. I hope it never goes away. And you're like, and then someone is telling you, I promise you, it's not even close to the best possible thing you can see. I promise you, there's more. Yeah. I promise you. And I'm looking at Riley Pettijohn. I'm looking at Sincere Johnson at Glenville. Like James has got something cooking in that room, man. He's got a bunch of dudes who look like those two, and then he's sprinkled in a little mini Bobby Carpenter, Anthony Schlegel, AJ Hawkin with Peyton Pierce.
Yeah.
But it's I just think this is scarily might be the worst version of the linebackers we've seen in a long time. And that's saying something in a world where I'm not going to be shocked that they're both first-round draft picks. One of them is probably going to be a top 7 pick, but Sonny Styles is going to walk into the combine and get a lot of scouts to go, hey, do we need a linebacker this year?
I think Mike Tomlin might have a good time watching Ohio State's linebackers at the pro day. And I say that if it sounds like I got distracted while I was talking about Caleb Williams there, it's because I looked up and I didn't know Jack Sawyer got an interception today. I didn't watch the 1:00 games because I was at the Bears-Bengals game. Shout out Jack Sawyer getting the pick.
Yeah, man. Jack Sawyer is still making plays at the next level. The Julian Sayin side of things, and I guess this is going to become a lot more of a texture-driven thing, which I love. We need to do that more often. From Peter in Northwest New Jersey, I think Julian winning the Heisman is bigger considering it is his first season and the way they built up his season by not doing too much early and now letting him loose. It's a great Heisman story and would be the first one since Troy Smith for OSU. I talked to Troy this past weekend for something I'm working on, and it's like changed the trajectory of some of the things I want to do this week because I thought he was very insightful. From the 937, Julian does more because it puts OSU and Day specifically back in the front of the best quarterback development in college football. I think with or without Jeremiah winning, OSU has a firm control over wide receiver U moniker in college football. I think that's fair. It's like them and USC and LSU.
Yeah.
Because Bama's kind of fallen off a little bit. I understand. Like, they got 2 good dudes now, but they're not these dudes. And they're not what LSU teams do every 3 or 4 years. From the 604, Julian, he would put the stamp on Ryan Day in the era of quarterbacks that have come through here. I understand that JJ would be the stamp of the wide receivers, but we are always going to have great wide receivers here. I think Julian winning it shows that you can come to Ohio State, have all the talent in the world around you, and still ball good enough to win the Heisman Trophy. And it would be almost better for the program because JJ is already a world-renowned name, but Julian winning it gives us even a broader spotlight. From the 214, I voted Jeremiah because he's the best player in college football. He has it all. Which would be the bigger statement. Day doesn't have a Heisman winner, so best for the program would be Julian to get it. From the 614, as much as JJ winning would be even further validation of the dominance of an OSU wide receiver room, Sayin winning it as a first-year starter would be a bigger statement for the program in general. It would be the fulfillment of the promise of C.J. Stroud and other great OSU quarterbacks, and arguably even further submit Day and the program for offensive development and excellence. 4 more. And we're going to read this longer one last. From the 941, for the poll, I voted Julian Sayin as Ohio State is known right now for their receivers being otherworldly. If Ohio State had a quarterback win it, would be more impressive than our receiver winning and help shape the narrative of Ohio State as QBU. Although in my heart, I want JJ. I get it. I do too. I want JJ too. From the 859, I think Sayin winning would be a bigger statement for Ohio State. Ryan Day is a QB guru, and this would be the last accolade he needs to submit that fact. He has the first-round picks, all the hardware. This is really the only thing missing. I feel as though Smith winning would be more of a testament to Heartline. Fair. From Sloopy in the 440. JJ is 1 of 1, but Julian is having a record-setting year with completion percentage. He has 4 TDs. He had 4 TDs and 3 incompletions against Penn State. If that holds true the rest of the year, it's got to be his to lose at this point. That being said, the QB needs the talent around him to win it. Julian winning it shows OSU has elite talent around their QB year in and year out. Since Day has been the head coach for multiple years, 2 quarterbacks have gotten the invite, likely 3 this year with Julian if all goes according to plan. So that would be 3 out of 5 quarterbacks getting an invite year in and year out. If your QB is getting the invite, it is an indication of the talent around him and the healthy status of the program. Not just going to beat the team up north and you finally have a winner most likely this year. And then here's a really long one. Reading out loud can be
not easy.
Thing.
Haven't done it.
It's not.
I haven't done it since like 3rd grade.
But you don't realize that. Like, how often are you just reading out loud? It says 2 people who read and write for a living. From the 517, either honestly, Jeremiah winning it would be a historical feat, but even though he's basically double teamed every play, for a wide receiver to win the Heisman, it's basically a statistical award. You have to break season records, which I don't think is that crazy. He's got 9 touchdowns right now. If he gets to 20 touchdowns, he's going to tie Chris Olave for the most career touchdowns. And he'll have done it in 2 years. And I don't think it's crazy to say that if this team reaches the national championship game, JJ gets another 11 touchdowns this year.
Okay.
Chris Olave, your records that you spent 4 years building are officially in trouble. There's an easier path for Julian Sayin to win the award, as the primary other contestants for it are Haynes King, Fernando Mendoza, and Ty Simpson. Our king died, man. He put up an immaculate stat line, and Georgia Tech forgot how to play defense, so I think he's done. It's probably Marcel Reed. Of those three, Haynes and Ty have losses. Yep. And Mendoza would lose to Julian in the Big Ten championship game. It would be viewed as Julian going out and winning the Heisman. The arguments that Julian is only a beneficiary of exceptional wide receiver play wouldn't hold water, as he's the most accurate quarterback to ever come through college football. He has a historical record to say why he should earn it, even if the others on his team who would claim the award themselves. Even if there's others on their team who could claim the award themselves. In addition, via the winning scenario, he would also have beaten Michigan, which is something that's plagued this team over the last 4 years, as a mini sub-story that would add to his accolades. At the end of the day, the Heisman is really a quarterback award, whether we like that or not. Day being known as a quarterback guru, along with an undefeated record through the Big Ten season, after winning a championship and losing a large amount of talent on the team, is good enough to finally break that glass ceiling on Ohio State Heismans. Since none of you guys want it, I'll answer it. I think quarterback's more important. As much as everything I said about earlier about JJ and the Heisman and like the storyline and the idea of like what his end game could be as a receiver, I still believe all of those things. But I think I pointed this out to you guys, Stefan, when we were leaving the team room on Tuesday, that like Ryan, there's like in Ryan Day's office, like the part of the office before you get to his actual office where like the assistant sits. Do you see all those plaques on the wall? Those are all the Heisman Trophy finalists. He looks at that every time he goes into his office. And his standard for quarterback play is national championship caliber, first round NFL draft pick caliber, Heisman Trophy. Okay, Dwayne, CJ, and Justin let you check off one of those. Like, actually, we tangibly got it. We were first round draft picks. Will Howard got you another one of those because he's a national championship winning quarterback. Him and Joe Burrow have something in common. He's at Heisman Trophy finalist, but he's never had a winner. And it's cool. It would be cool if JJ won it. But the receivers don't win it enough for us like to hold that against him if he doesn't win the Heisman Trophy.
Yeah.
I think just getting there, like Amari Cooper just got there. Do you think any less of him as a receiver at Bama because he didn't win it? All right. Like Devontae Smith, I don't think he wins the Heisman if Jaden Waddle doesn't get hurt because they probably offset each other a little bit more. Marv got there. Do you think less of him because Jaden Daniels is the person who actually left with the win? Like we don't, until we live in a world where, a lot of people brought this up, until we live in a world where the Heisman isn't a quarterback award first, and then we'll let everybody else in if there's not enough quarterbacks, I just don't think you can hold that against wide receivers. Because he's going to win the Biletnikoff this year unless Carnell wins it. And if he doesn't win it this year, he's definitely going to win it next year. So that's fine. He's going to do everything Marv did, plus he has a ring. The question is, can he just beat Michigan? But this is like Dave's thing. And this is, I think, bringing us full circle to what you were talking about in the beginning. If you're a head coach somewhere, your position group should be like that. And the quarterbacks here have obviously been like that, but they don't have the hardware nationally that goes along with that. They've won quarterback of the year in the Big Ten. They've been offensive player of the year in the Big Ten. They've been freshman of the year in Big Ten. They've been Big Ten freshman and Big Ten offensive player of the week and all that stuff. They don't have the All-Americans. I don't think Justin and CJ have a tree. I don't think. I'm not 100% sure because they're not first-team All-Americans because that typically goes to one quarterback. I might be wrong about that. But they've never won the Davey O'Brien Award. It's not like Will Howard won the Unitas Award last year as a fifth-year senior. So if like Julian Sayin gets all of that and he gets the hardware that goes along with it, I think that is a much more important thing for Ohio State quarterbacks. Because yes, JJ winning the Heisman puts a stamp on what's been a crazy 5-year run here at wide receiver. Julian winning the Heisman is a hell of a book into where Ohio State's quarterback play was when Ryan Day showed up in 2017. To 20 years later, another little dude wearing number 10 wins the Heisman Trophy. So I think I'm going to ask Day about that on Tuesday. I'm not going to ask him, hey, do you care about winning the Heisman? But I'm trying to figure out a way to ask him about that award and how much it matters to him to have one guy finally win the award. And ask it in a way where I'm not going to get the answer of like, well, we do think like the actual, like, get at it in his head of, you want this to be position rule. Oh, okay, that comes with it. Like, is that matter? Like, you've had guys get to the door, but have a guy actually get past the finish line. How much does that matter? Because I think this is the best chance he's had at it. Given that the narrative of all he has got to do is beat Michigan and it's his, I don't know if it's ever been that plain. Because the Michigan thing wasn't a thing when CJ lost it in 2021.
Yeah. And I think Day's answer to, being asked about Julian being the best quarterback and, inadvertently, I guess, being asked about Julian being the Heisman favorite, because if you're the best quarterback in college football, you're going to be, the Heisman favorite. It's officially Michigan week in Columbus, because Day's answer was like, well, like, we don't need to answer that right now who the best quarterback is, because that'll be determined at the end of the season. I think Day also knows if Julian Sain's going to win the Heisman, he's got to win the game on November 29th in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, because his answer was, if he beats Michigan, yes, he's winning the Heisman.
Yes, that's literally what Day said. That's literally what they
said. Yeah, that was it.
But
he said, do I think he's the best quarterback? Yes. I'm not allowed to say that until he beats Michigan.
Yeah.
But yes, that's all as he was answering that question, I was thinking in my head, so yes, you think he's the best quarterback in college football. But, till you beat Michigan, you can't say it. Okay, so that's that. We'll touch more on the Heisman later on this week, but I just thought, we're here. Ohio State's got 2 Heisman Trophy candidates. And do you think one of them gets there even if they lose to Michigan? Like, I'm not saying win it, but they have to beat Michigan for both of them to go. But is one of these guys already kind of already where CJ is, where like you're going, and whether you win this game or not will just be about like whether you win or not?
I think probably Julian.
I would have said JJ before the game on Saturday.
I'd probably agree with that.
So yeah, I think Julian's going to New York regardless. And that game is going to decide whether or not JJ is coming with him.
I was thinking about Julian's Heisman kind of campaign to myself going into the Penn State game a bit, where I was just like, actually, no, it was during the bye week when I was watching Vanderbilt versus Missouri, and Diego Pavia, even though they won, did not play well. And I was kind of just sitting there thinking to myself, like, Julian's going to get to New York off consistency alone. Because it's like John Mateer, super high highs. Maybe his highs were even better than Julian Sayin's lows. Diego Pavia, great highs, lows. Fernando Mendoza is kind of the only one that's been on pace with him. And I think Fernando Mendoza is going to have to face Ohio State's defense, and Julian Sayin's not going to face Ohio State's defense. And I think that's a pretty important element to this. So it's like coming into November and after that last bye week, I'm thinking to myself, look, I'm looking at all these names in the mix, and I'm like, okay, I think Ty Simpson's probably going to have a game where he stumbles. I think Diego Pavia's going to have a game where he stumbles. I think, you go through the list, you're like, I think these guys are all going to kind of stumble, and it's like, what does stumbling look like for Julian Sayin?
He only throws deep balls, so he throws 74. I do think there's something to that, though, right? Like, John Mateer had to bring it against Michigan. This is why, like, September Heismans are always stupid. Yeah. But like we do it because it's something to do. Because there is a world that exists where Julian Sayin could have been having September Heisman conversations, right? If they'd have let him go against Texas.
No doubt.
But that's not process. The process was to bring him along slowly and get to November 1st, and then we'll unleash it. And so now he gets to be in the conversation when it actually matters. Versus like John Mateer and Diego Pavia, where it's like, yeah, to your point, everybody can do it for a weekend, but can you do it for 12 straight games? This guy can. It just that doesn't mean we're going to give him a plate full of food that he doesn't need to eat right now. No, we'll wait to give him the buffet when we play the Nittany Lions, then stick it to Jim Knowles for 60 minutes. Okay, well, now they get to play Purdue this week, so that's fun. 614-350-3315, 2-week free trial, $3.99. After that, I think Julian's going to New York no matter what, and I think that's how he's going. If JJ going with him, let's see what happens on November 29th. And I also think it's a bigger deal if he wins that award because of who the head coach is and his story about how this all started back in 2017. Like, to go from that to 7 years later, you got a guy winning the Heisman Trophy is insane. Even if, like, he was at Alabama for 3 weeks, man. Like, that thing that Nick Saban was talking about where he never started Julian, saying there was no game where you ever could have made that decision. Well, one, he literally couldn't play in the Rose Bowl for you because he had literally just got there. But even if he could have played in the Rose Bowl, a dude who just got there, you're going to bench him? You're going to bench Jalen Milroe for that? No, you're not. No. So, like, stop. We got to stop exaggerating. You recruited him, you want him. We get it. Every week, Saban goes on there and has to remind everybody that he's actually the guy that signed Julian Sayin in some weird way. We get it, Nick. You're the GOAT.
Maybe he's making his pitch to LSU and Penn State. Hey, I can bring these type of guys to your program.
Hey, remember, I got that guy. Hey, LSU, I know I won a ring here 20 years ago, but that's not why you should rehire me. It's because I got that guy. Come on, man. 614-350-3315. 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. That'll wrap up this Leave No Doubt pod. Tuesday, we're back in the Woody talking with Ryan Day. Andrew and I are also going to do a recruiting pod because Ohio State's 2027 class is starting to get off the ground a little bit. They got some recruits, some commitments over the weekend on Sunday. A couple of offensive linemen because Tyler Bowen's been a bore on the recruiting trail and really getting after it, especially with these in-state and kind of more local guys here and bringing some big boys to Ohio State. So we'll get into that type of stuff. And we'll talk with Day on Tuesday as the Buckeyes prepare to play the Boilermakers on Saturday, 614-350-3315. 2-week free trial, $3.99 after that. For Stefan Krajisnik, I'm Stephen Means. Talk to you guys later.